The signal. The first indication that humanity wasn't alone came on an ordinary Tuesday morning at the Arecibo Deep Space Monitoring Facility. Dr. Maya Chen was reviewing overnight signal data when her algorithms flagged something unusual, a repeating pattern coming from just beyond Mars's orbit. Unlike the random noise of cosmic background radiation, this signal pulsed with mathematical precision. "Dr. Reyes, you need to see this," Maya called to her supervisor, not taking her eyes off the monitor. Dr. Carlos Reyes abandoned his coffee and leaned over her shoulder, squinting at the wavelength patterns. "That's not one of ours, and it's definitely not natural." Within an hour, the facility was locked down. Within 3, representatives from the United Nations Space Command had arrived, led by Commander Akira Takeda, a stern-faced woman with more combat decorations than most soldiers. "Earned in a lifetime. Walk me through it again, Dr. Chen," Commander Takeda requested, her voice betraying no emotion as they gathered in the facility's secure conference room. Maya projected the signal analysis onto the wall screen. "It's broadcasting on multiple frequencies simultaneously, which is odd. But what's stranger is that it seems to be actively interfacing with our systems. The moment we detected it, the signal changed, adapting to our technology." "A virus?" one of the military analysts suggested. "No." Maya shook her head. "It's a translation matrix. It's trying to communicate." As they watched, text began to form. On the screen, urgent, distress signal, vessel Solara, refugees seeking sanctuary, pursuing forces imminent, request, immediate assistance. The room fell silent. First contact with an alien species, and it came in the form of a desperate plea for help. Commander Takeda was the first to speak. "Can we respond?" "I believe so," Maya said, fingers flying across her keyboard. "The Matrix has established a two-way protocol." "Tell them we've received their message and request more information," Takeda ordered. Maya composed a simple response, and within moments the aliens replied. "Gratitude, vessel critically damaged. 82 survivors of variant species, fleeing systematic eradication by Harvester Collective, require safe harbor and repair facilities. Warn, Harvesters will follow. They're refugees," Dr. Reyes murmured. "Running from genocide." Commander Takeda's expression hardened. "And they've just led their pursuers straight to Earth." What followed was the most rapid deployment of Earth's fledgling space defense force in history. Within 12 hours, the UN Security Council had approved a rescue mission, though not without significant opposition. Many argued that humanity should remain hidden, that interfering in an alien conflict could bring catastrophe. "We're potentially risking the entire human race," the Chinese representative had argued during the emergency session. The American delegate countered, "If we ignore a cry for help, what does that say about us as a species?" In the end, compassion, or perhaps curiosity, won out. The UNSC vessel Prometheus, Earth's newest and most advanced ship, was dispatched with a crew of 40 specialists, including Commander Takeda and Dr. Chen. The Prometheus reached the alien vessel 3 days later. The Solara was a marvel of engineering, a crystalline structure that seemed to be grown rather than built, now cracked and darkened in many places. It drifted lifelessly, running on emergency power only. "Their life support is failing," reported Lieutenant Kim, the engineering specialist. "We have maybe 2 hours before it gives out completely." "Prep the rescue teams," Takeda ordered. "Dr. Chen, you're with me on the first shuttle. Your translation skills may be crucial." Maya had never imagined her first venture into space would be to board an alien vessel. As their shuttle approached the Solara's damaged hull, she fought to control her breathing. The airlock they connected to was unlike anything human engineers had designed, a sphincter-like aperture that seemed almost organic. "Stay behind me," Commander Takeda said, checking her sidearm as the airlock cycled. When the door opened, they were greeted by an atmosphere thick with unfamiliar scents, like cinnamon and ozone. And standing before them was the first alien humanity had ever encountered face to face. The Varian was tall, at least 7 feet, with a slender frame that seemed almost fragile. Its skin was iridescent, shifting between blue and green in the light. 4 arms extended from its torso, and its face featured large compound eyes that dominated a narrow skull. It wore what appeared to be a uniform, torn and stained with a luminescent fluid that Maya realized must be blood. "Welcome," it said, its voice emerging from a small device at its throat. "I am Captain Ilara of the Solara. You arrive at our final hour." Maya stepped forward, overcoming her shock. "I'm Dr. Maya Chen. We received your distress call and we're here to help." "You risk much," Ilara replied, her large eyes blinking slowly. "The harvesters are relentless. They will track us." "Let's focus on saving your people first," Commander Takeda interjected. "How many need immediate medical attention?" 23. Of our 82 survivors require critical care. The rest can be evacuated safely. The rescue operation was complex. The Varians' biology was entirely alien. They breathed a higher concentration of oxygen, their circulatory system used copper rather than iron, and their internal organs bore little resemblance to anything in Earth's evolutionary tree. The medical team worked frantically, adapting their protocols on the fly. Meanwhile, engineering crews assessed the Solara, salvaging what technology they could before the ship's power core destabilized completely. During the evacuation, Maya worked closely with a young Varian scientist named Talon, who had been the one to modify their communication systems to reach Earth. "You call your world Earth," Talon said as they transferred data cores to the Prometheus. "In our star charts, your system is marked as prohibited." "Prohibited?" Maya asked, confused. "Why?" "Your planet is classified as a death world," Talon explained. "High gravity, extreme weather patterns, diverse biosphere with numerous apex predators, and highly variable temperatures. Most spacefaring species evolved on much more stable worlds." Maya almost laughed. "You're saying Earth is too dangerous for aliens? Yet here you are, coming to us for help." "Desperation drives us to seek aid, even from Deathworlders," Talon admitted. "But perhaps that is fortunate. The Harvesters have conquered 12 systems. All were peaceful, stable worlds with species who had never needed to evolve the capacity for violence that humans possess." As they spoke, alarms blared throughout the Prometheus. Commander Takeda's voice came over the comms. "All personnel, return to the ship immediately. Long-range sensors have detected multiple vessels entering the system. They're moving fast." Maya helped Talon to their evacuation shuttle. "The Harvesters?" The Varian's skin paled to a ghostly white. "Yes, they've found us sooner than expected. Your world is now in grave danger." By the time the Prometheus had recovered all personnel and refugees, the first Harvester scout ships were already approaching Mars. The human vessel accelerated toward Earth, pushing its engines beyond safety limits. In the medical bay, Captain, Ilara recovered enough to speak with Commander Takeda and Earth's leadership via quantum communication. Her words were grim. "The Harvester Collective is not like your human empires. They do not seek territory or resources in the conventional sense. They harvest entire biospheres, stripping planets of all complex life forms, which they process, into biological components for their living ships and technology." "How many ships in their fleet?" Takeda asked. "At least 50 capital ships, each carrying hundreds of harvesters and thousands of drone fighters. They will not negotiate. They will not retreat. They have deemed our species, and now yours, as suitable for harvesting." Maya watched the faces of Earth's leaders grow pale on the view screen. "Then we fight," said General Williams of the North American Defense Coalition. "We've been preparing for possible hostile contact since we first reached space." Captain Ilara's compound eyes fixed on the general. "With respect, your technology is primitive compared to theirs. Your entire planetary defense system would barely disable one of their capital ships." "Then what do you suggest?" asked the UN Secretary General. "Surrender?" "No," Ilara said, a new determination in her voice. "We suggest an alliance. The Varians are scientists and engineers, not warriors, but we understand harvester technology. Combined with humanity's unique perspective on warfare, perhaps we stand a chance." As the Prometheus approached Earth, Trailing the injured Solara that they'd managed to partially repair, Maya stood on the observation deck with Talon. Below them, the blue and green jewel of Earth grew larger. "Your people have never faced an enemy like this," Talon said softly. "They've never had to fight for their very existence." Maya thought of Earth's long, bloody history, of world wars and cold wars, of genocide and resistance, of the countless times humanity had nearly destroyed itself only to emerge stronger. "Actually," she replied, "fighting against impossible odds is something humans are uniquely qualified for." Behind them, Commander Takeda entered the observation deck. "The first Harvester ships will reach Earth orbit in 5 days. The Secretary-General is officially declaring a planetary emergency." Maya nodded, her resolve hardening. "Then we have 5 days to teach them why attacking a planet full of Deathworlders was their worst mistake." The refuge, the arrival of the Varian refugees on Earth, triggered a cascade of reactions across human society. Initial fear and suspicion quickly gave way to curiosity, then to a growing sense of common purpose as the reality of the Harvester threat became clear. Within the sprawling complex of the United Nations Space Command headquarters in Geneva, Commander HFY Takeda oversaw the largest military mobilization in human history. "Our satellite network has been upgraded with Varian detection technology," reported General Hassan of the African Union Forces. "We'll have advance warning when the main Harvester fleet arrives." "What about armaments?" Commander Takeda asked, examining the holographic display of Earth's defenses. "That's where we're making real progress," Dr. Maya Chen interjected, entering the command center alongside Talon. The young Varian scientist had become her constant companion, their collaboration yielding remarkable results. "Show them," Maya prompted. Talon stepped forward, his iridescent skin shimmering under the harsh lights. He placed a small crystalline device on the conference table. It projected a 3-dimensional schematic of a weapon system unlike anything the human officers had seen. "We call it a gravity lance," Talon explained. "It creates localized distortions in spacetime that can shear through even the most advanced Harvester shields. The principle is similar to your nuclear weapons, but far more precise and without the radioactive aftermath." General Williams leaned forward, studying the projection. "Can we build these with Earth materials?" "With modifications, yes," Maya confirmed. "We've already begun production at facilities in Brazil, China, and Canada." The Varian's knowledge of quantum engineering combined with human manufacturing capacity is, well, it's changing the equation. "It may not be enough," Captain Alara cautioned. She had recovered significantly under Earth's medical care, though she still moved with obvious pain. "The Harvesters adapt quickly. Each world they've conquered has taught them new strategies." Commander Takeda nodded grimly. "Then we must present them with something they've never encountered before." Outside the meeting in cities and towns across the globe, humanity prepared for war. Underground shelters expanded, food and medical supplies stockpiled, and civilians trained in emergency protocols. The presence of the Varians, now scattered among human population centers to assist with defense preparations, had transformed abstract fear into concrete determination. In a laboratory beneath Mount Cheyenne, Maya worked alongside Talon and a team of human and Varian scientists. The space hummed with activity as they integrated technologies that had evolved on worlds light years apart. "This is remarkable," Talon said, examining the modified exoskeleton a human engineer had just tested. "Your species builds for durability, over elegance. The Harvesters won't expect such robustness." Maya smiled despite her exhaustion. "Humans evolved on a world where everything was trying to kill us. Our technology reflects that." Across the lab, Dr. Reyes approached with an elderly Varian named Soren, who had been the Solara's chief archivist. His skin had faded to a pale blue with age, but his compound eyes remained sharp and alert. "Maya, you need to see this," Dr. Reyes said, his voice tight with excitement. "Soren has been analyzing our historical military strategies." The old Varian's throat speaker crackled to life. "Your species' approach to warfare is instructive. The concept of asymmetric conflict is particularly relevant to our situation." "Guerrilla warfare," Maya translated for the benefit of the military personnel present. Fighting against a superior force by avoiding direct confrontation, striking weak points, and using the environment to your advantage. Precisely, Soren agreed. The harvesters expect systematic resistance, orbital defenses, then atmospheric engagements, then ground combat. Their tactics are methodical, almost algorithmic. They have never encountered a species that would sacrifice strategic positions to lure them into traps. Commander Takeda, who had entered silently during the exchange, spoke up. Then that's exactly what we'll give them. Not the war they expect, but the war we know how to win. Over the next 3 days, Earth's defense plan evolved. Rather than concentrating forces around major cities and military installations, UNSC deployed mobile units across seemingly random locations. Varian engineers worked alongside human technicians to create decoy energy signatures that mimicked defense batteries, while the real weapons were hidden in inconspicuous locations. On the diplomatic front, Captain Alara addressed the United Nations General Assembly, her testimony broadcast to billions around the world. My people underestimated the harvesters. We believed our advanced technology would protect us. We were wrong. Her compound eyes swept across the assembly. But you human, you are different. You plan for failure. You expect treachery. You prepare for disasters. These traits, which might seem pessimistic, may be our salvation. The speech galvanized public support. Volunteer rates for civil defense forces broke all records. Former enemies set aside decades-old conflicts to present a united front. Humanity, faced with extinction, found unprecedented unity. In orbit, Earth's meager space fleet underwent rapid expansion and retrofitting. The salvage technology from the Solara allowed for significant upgrades to propulsion, weapons, and shielding systems. What had been 14 disparate vessels became a coordinated battle group of 28 ships, each now capable of engaging harvester craft with at least a fighting chance. 4 days after the Prometheus returned to Earth, the first real test came. A trio of harvester scout ships entered high Earth orbit, likely conducting reconnaissance before the main fleet arrived. In the UNSC command center, Commander Takeda watched the tactical display with Captain Alara at her side. They're scanning our defenses, Alara observed, mapping our response capabilities. Then let's give them something to think about, Takeda replied. She opened a channel to the orbital defense stations. Chimera Protocol is now active. I repeat, Chimera Protocol is active. Across Earth's orbit, automated defense platforms that had appeared dormant suddenly activated, not with conventional weapons, but with modified Varian technology that created phantom energy signatures. To the harvester sensors, it would appear as though Earth had suddenly deployed hundreds of additional defense systems. Confused them, Takeda noted with satisfaction as the scout ships altered course, moving to a higher orbit. They'll realize the deception eventually, Captain Alara cautioned. We don't need eventually, we just need doubt. Takeda turned to her communications officer. Launch Operation Hornet. From concealed silos in the Antarctic, 5 small craft accelerated into orbit. Unlike conventional military vessels, these were barely larger than personal shuttles. But each carried a single gravity lance, modified with stealth technology, developed by combining human radar-absorbent materials with Varian phase shifting. The harvester scouts focused on the phantom energy signatures, failed to detect the approaching ships until it was too late. 2 of the 5 human craft were destroyed in the ensuing engagement, but the remaining 3 successfully deployed their weapons. In the command center, a cheer erupted as 2 of the 3 harvester scouts disappeared from the tactical display, their hulls sheared apart by the gravity lances. The 3rd, damaged but functional, rapidly accelerated away from Earth. They'll report back, Alara said, her voice a mixture of awe and concern. You've bloodied their nose, as humans might say. Good, Commander Takeda replied. Let them know. This won't be easy. Later that evening, Maya found Talon in the observation lounge of the Geneva complex, staring at the night sky. The stars seemed different somehow, knowing what was coming from among them. The main fleet has been detected, Maya said softly. They'll be here in less than 18 hours. Talon's skin pulsed with anxious colors. I've analyzed the data from today's engagement. The harvesters will not underestimate Earth again. We didn't expect them to. Maya sat beside the alien scientist. But we needed to show our people that they can be hurt, that they're not invincible. There's something else, Talon said after a moment. Something Captain Alara hasn't shared with your leaders yet. He reached into a pocket of his adaptive clothing and removed a small crystalline object that pulsed with inner light. What is it? Maya asked, fascinated by the way the light seemed to move within the crystal, almost like a living thing. The real reason the harvesters destroyed our world, Talon replied. This is a fragment of ancient technology, older than both our species. We discovered it buried beneath our polar ice caps. We call it the Nexus Key. Maya resisted the urge to touch the glowing crystal. What does it do? We're not entirely sure, Talon admitted, but our research suggests it's part of a network, a system built by a precursor civilization that vanished millions of years ago. The harvesters want it desperately. Why hasn't Captain Alara mentioned this before? Talon's skin darkened with what Maya had come to recognize as shame. Because bringing it to Earth may have doomed your world. The harvesters can detect its energy signature across vast distances. They would have found Earth eventually, but the key accelerated their pursuit. Maya took a deep breath, processing this revelation. So all this time, they weren't just after the Varians. They were after this technology. Yes. And now, Talon was interrupted by a blaring alarm. Throughout the complex, emergency lights flashed red. Commander Takeda's voice came over the facility-wide comms. All personnel to battle stations. Multiple harvester vessels have appeared in cislunar space. They're accelerating toward Earth. This is not a drill. Maya and Talon shared a look of determination mixed with fear. The moment they had prepared for had arrived sooner than expected. The harvester main fleet, or at least its vanguard, had arrived. As they hurried toward the command center, Maya touched Talon's arm. Whatever that key is, whatever it does, it's too late to worry about it now. All that matters is surviving what comes next. The alien scientist nodded, his compound eyes reflecting the emergency lights. Then let us show the harvesters what happens when they threaten a world of Deathworlders and those under their protection. The response, the first wave of the harvester. Assault struck with calculated precision. 7 massive capital ships positioned themselves in geosynchronous orbit over Earth's most populated regions: North America, Europe, East Asia, Southeast Asia, South America, and Central Africa. In the UNSC command bunker beneath Geneva, the tactical display showed the harvester vessels deploying smaller craft by the hundreds. They're launching atmospheric penetration units, Captain Alara explained, her voice tense. Standard harvester protocol. Establish air superiority, then deploy ground forces to secure harvesting zones. Commander Takeda studied the patterns of deployment, her expression grim but focused. They're following predictable formation patterns, almost textbook. She turned to her communications officer. Initiate Hydra protocol. Around the world, Earth's unconventional defense strategy unfolded. Instead of engaging the harvester fighters directly with conventional aircraft, ground-based gravity lance batteries activated from concealed positions. The weapons fired not at the enemy craft themselves, but at precisely calculated points in the atmosphere above them. The result was devastating. Localized gravity distortions created violent air turbulence, sending harvester fighters spiraling, out of control. Those that survived found themselves confronted by fewer human aircraft than expected, because Earth's air forces were holding back, conserving strength for the battles to come. They're adapting, Maya observed, watching the tactical display as harvester formations broke apart, becoming more irregular and harder to target with the gravity distortions. Faster than we anticipated, Talon agreed. Their neural networks analyze combat data in real time. In orbit, the situation was equally dynamic. Earth's modest fleet engaged the smaller harvester vessels, using hit-and-run tactics developed by studying historical naval guerrilla warfare. The human ships, enhanced with Varian technology, proved surprisingly resilient. 4 hours into the battle, a Harvester capital ship broke from its orbital position and began a descent toward the North American continent. "They're changing strategy," Captain Alara said. "This is unprecedented. Harvesters always secure orbital dominance before committing capital ships to atmospheric operations." "They're targeting our manufacturing centers," Commander Takeda realized. "They've identified the Gravity Lance production facilities." General Williams stepped forward. "Then they're walking into our trap." He activated a secure channel. "This is General Williams to all North American defense units. The package is inbound. I repeat, the package is inbound. Operation Thunderclap is now active." As the massive Harvester ship entered the upper atmosphere, creating a fiery trail visible across half the continent, something unexpected happened. Instead of fleeing the vessel's path, human forces converged toward it. Squadrons of fighter craft that had been held in reserve now launched from hidden bases, flying directly at the descending alien ship. "What are they doing?" Ilara asked, bewildered. "Those craft cannot penetrate a capital ship's shields." "They're not trying to," Maya explained, watching the human aircraft release clouds of what appeared to be metallic chaff before peeling away. Talon understood first. "Brilliant. They're seeding the atmosphere with conductive particles, creating a pathway." The enormous electrical potential between the upper and lower atmosphere, normally discharged through lightning, was amplified by the specialized chaff. As the Harvester ship descended through this charged region, the electrical differential found its path, directly through the alien vessel's hull. The result was a lightning strike of unprecedented magnitude. The Harvester ship's shields, designed to repel kinetic and energy weapons, did nothing against this natural phenomenon harnessed as a weapon. Electrical systems throughout the vessel failed catastrophically. "Direct hit," General Williams announced, a note of fierce pride in his voice. "The Harvester capital ship is disabled and descending uncontrolled toward the Pacific Ocean." For the first time since the battle began, cheers echoed through the command center. But the moment of celebration was short-lived. On the tactical display, the remaining Harvester capital ships broke from their orbital positions, accelerating outward. "They're retreating?" someone asked hopefully. "No," Captain Alara said, her voice hollow. "They're repositioning for a coordinated attack. This is the Harvester endgame protocol. When conventional harvesting fails, they resort to sterilization." "Sterilization?" Commander Takeda demanded. "Total eradication of all complex life on the target planet," Talon explained, his skin pale with fear. "They'll bombard Earth with kinetic impactors, essentially guided asteroids." Maya felt cold dread sweep through her. "How do we stop that?" For a moment, no one answered. Then Captain Alara straightened, her compound eyes focusing with new intensity. "The Nexus key. It may be our only chance." She turned to Talon. "Bring it now." As Talon hurried away, Alara addressed Commander Takeda. "I need access to your most powerful broadcast array. The key can interact with certain frequencies. It may disrupt the Harvester's coordination." "May?" Takeda asked. "We never had time to fully test its capabilities before our world fell," Alara admitted. "But our ancestors' records suggest it was designed as a defense against exactly this kind of threat." Takeda didn't hesitate. "Do it." Within minutes, Talon returned with the crystalline Nexus key. In the glow of the emergency lights, it pulsed with an almost hypnotic rhythm. Captain Alara took it reverently, then connected it to an adapter that the Varian engineers had prepared for interfacing with Earth technology. "Direct me to your broadcast center," she requested. Maya led them to the communications hub where Earth's most powerful transmitters could reach every corner of the planet and beyond. The human technicians worked rapidly to integrate the alien device into their systems. "What frequency?" the lead communications officer asked. "All of them," Ilara replied. "The key doesn't operate on single wavelengths. It permeates the entire spectrum." Outside, the situation deteriorated rapidly. The Harvester ships had begun launching massive projectiles, captured asteroids fitted with guidance systems, aimed at strategic points across Earth's surface. Conventional defense systems engaged, destroying some, but many more were getting through. In the broadcast center, Captain Alara positioned the Nexus key at the heart of the transmission array. The crystal's glow intensified, spreading through the connected systems like living light. "Now," she instructed. The communications officer activated the global broadcast. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the Nexus key flared with blinding luminosity. Energy cascaded through the transmission equipment, overloading safety systems that shut down instantly. But not before the signal had been sent. Across Earth's orbit, the effect was immediate and stunning. The harvester vessels froze in position, their systems seemingly paralyzed. The launched kinetic impactors lost guidance, tumbling harmlessly into empty regions of space or burning up in the atmosphere. "What did you do?" Maya asked, staring at the tactical display in amazement. "The key carries the protocols of its creators," Alara explained, her voice weak with exhaustion from the effort. "It recognizes harvester technology as a corruption of the original design and, I suppose you could say, it issued a shutdown command." "Will it last?" Commander Takeda demanded. "Not indefinitely," Talon cautioned. "The harvesters will adapt their systems to resist the signal. We have perhaps an hour, maybe less." "Then we make it count," Takeda declared. She opened a channel to all Earth forces. "This is Commander Takeda. The enemy is temporarily disabled. All available units, engage and destroy. Priority targets are the command nodes of capital ships. I repeat, all units engage immediately." What followed was the most coordinated assault in human military history. Every functional aircraft, orbital platform, and gravity lance battery opened fire simultaneously. The disabled harvester vessels, unable to maneuver or defend themselves, were systematically targeted at their most vulnerable points. Knowledge provided by the Varians who had studied harvester technology. 3 capital ships were destroyed outright. 2 more, critically damaged, began to drift from their orbital positions. The remaining vessels showed signs of recovery, their systems rebooting to counter the Nexus key's effect. "They're coming back online," Dr. Reyes reported from the sensor station. "Starting with the vessels farthest from Earth. Then we focus everything on the remaining ships in range," Commander Takeda ordered. "All reserves, all experimental weapons, everything we have." The next 20 minutes were a desperate race against time. Human and Varian engineers worked frantically to modify the Nexus key's signal, trying to extend its effectiveness, while Earth's combined military forces hammered the partially disabled harvester ships. When the signal finally failed completely, only 2 harvester capital ships remained functional. The rest had been destroyed or disabled beyond repair. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the harvesters faced not just resistance, but defeat. In the command center, all eyes watched as the 2 surviving capital ships accelerated, away from Earth, retreating to the outer solar system. "Are they leaving?" General Williams asked. "Yes," Captain Alara confirmed, her voice a mixture of disbelief and hope. "Their collective consciousness operates on strict efficiency protocols. They've determined that the resources required to harvest Earth outweigh the potential gains. In other words," Maya translated, "we're more trouble than we're worth." A weary cheer spread through the command center, quickly growing in volume as the realization sank in. Humanity had faced its greatest threat and survived. Not just survived, but triumphed. In the days that followed, the full extent of the battle became clear. Earth had suffered significant damage, cities destroyed, millions of casualties, infrastructure crippled in many regions. But unlike the 12 civilizations that had fallen before, humanity had repelled the harvesters. 2 weeks after the battle, Captain Alara addressed a special session of the United Nations. Her wounds had healed, and she stood tall before the representatives of Earth's nations. "My people came to you as refugees, desperate and hopeless. You took us in, protected us, and together we achieved what no other civilization has managed. We stopped the Harvester Collective." Her compound eyes surveyed the assembly. "For thousands of years, the spacefaring species of our galaxy have avoided Earth, labeling it a death world too dangerous to approach. Today, I say that classification was correct, but not for the reasons we thought. She gestured toward Commander Takeda and Maya, who sat in the front row. Earth is a death world not because of its gravity or climate or wildlife, but because it produced humans, a species tempered by adversity, ingenious in crisis, and ferocious in defense of those under their protection. The Varian captain raised all four of her hands in a gesture of respect. The galaxy has long feared Earth. Now, because of your actions, there are those who will look to this death world with hope. The harvesters will return eventually, perhaps with new strategies and technologies, but they will find not just humans waiting for them, but an alliance of species who have learned that even the most terrible enemy can be defeated. As the assembly erupted in applause, Maya leaned toward Talon. "What happens now?" she asked. The alien scientist's skin rippled with colors that Maya had come to recognize as optimism. Now we rebuild. We learn from each other. And perhaps when we're ready, we take the fight to them. Commander Takeda overheard the exchange. "One step at a time," she cautioned. "First, we secure our system. Then we help the Varians establish a new home here. After that," she smiled, a rare expression on her usually stern face. "After that, we show the galaxy exactly what happens when you awaken a planet of Deathworlders." In orbit above Earth, the salvage operations continued. Human and Varian engineers worked side by side, recovering technology from the destroyed harvester vessels. Each piece represented not just advanced capabilities, but a future where humanity would no longer be confined to its solar system. The signal sent by the desperate Varian refugees had changed everything. They had cried for help from a death world, and humanity had answered with fire and steel. The response had echoed across the stars, a declaration that Earth would not be harvested, that humans would not go quietly, and that anyone seeking to threaten this world or those under its protection would face the full, terrible creativity of a species that had evolved on the most dangerous planet in known space. The age of isolation was over. Humanity had taken its first steps onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors or victims, but as defenders, as allies, as the unexpected champions of those who could not fight for themselves. And the galaxy would never be the same.